What's up, guys? Hello from the Hard Rock Seminole, where we're just wrapping up the WPT event down here. This video is not about that. This video, we're throwing it back to the lodge in Austin, where we're hopping into another massive poker game. 5,100 stratos will be on, so the stakes are going to go up from there. And these are easily the most stressful poker games that I'm playing these days. Just because of the stakes. The stakes are so significant. The money is so significant. Any one particular session or handful of sessions down there at the lodge in these high stakes live stream games could have a very significant impact on whatever my bottom line ends up being for the year. So, like I said, always a stressful situation in these games. There's some fun hands. Hopefully it's entertaining, and hopefully at the end of the year, things go our way, but there will be swings along the way. So let's dive in. Hope you guys enjoy it. Let's get to these hands. Here we are in the beautiful, still pretty much brand new live stream studio at the lodge. Love this room. Look at those beautiful colors. Look at that fireplace. We got ourselves a new table here. Last time you guys tuned in to some vlogs from the lodge live stream, table was a little bit on the smaller side, a little bit awkward. This one, bigger, less awkward, room looking on point. Hand number 2 off of the deck here. We've got ourselves 2 cards. 40% to a royal flush. Those 2 cards are, of course, we're getting in there. We're playing 5,100 with a 100 big blind ante. Could make it $250. Seems like that might be the precise scientific raise. $300, very much okay. I make it $300 to go from under the gun. Folds over to Doug, looking sharp, like the coat. Nice watch, Doug. He's going to make the call out of the cutoff. Alex, the serial killer, likes to stare people down and scare the crap out of them. He calls on the dealer button. Over to Easy now. He likes to get into the mix all the time, pretty much. He does so in this hand, putting in a 3-bet squeeze out of the small blind up to $1,500. As mentioned, we can make a royal flush using 2 cards in this hand. I'm going absolutely nowhere. We could 4-bet. We block some strong hands. Definitely not folding. I settle on the middle route. I make the call. Doug gets out of the way, out of the cutoff, and Alex calls, closing the action in position on the dealer button. We've got $5,000 in hand number 2 off of the deck, going 3 ways to a flop. Ace 8 6, 2 clubs, no royal flush draw, but we do flop a regular flush draw here. Easy is going to reach into his stack, grab 1 banana chip, toss it out. That's a $1,000 wager. Very small bet. Still 2 options on the table. Could raise, could flat call. I think 3 ways, maybe play somewhat straightforward. I continue with the call. Alex does his thing, gives people a look over, and he decides he doesn't want to go anywhere just yet either. So still 3 of us participating in this hand. Off to a turn card, which is the 10 of clubs, giving us not the second nuts because the straight flush is available, but pretty damn close to the nuts either way. Easy slows down with a check this time, and it's over to me. Have to decide what we're going to do. Of course, we're going to bet here. Just need to decide on sizing. I think we can go kind of small. We're still 3 ways. Typically, I'm going to bet on the smaller side when the pot is multi-way and not heads up. We could turn some smaller pairs into a bluff. We could turn some straight draws into a bluff. And I think we want to try and bluff cheap when we are doing that. In this case, I got myself a king-eye flush. I'm going to bet $2,200. Alex thinks it over for a little while, and he eventually folds. Over to Easy now. Turns out he has himself an open-ended straight draw, but with 3 clubs, that 3rd club hitting the turn, he's going to abandon ship. Lets this one go, and we are on the board. On the good side, hand number 2 off the deck.
Looks like he's doing a little.
All right, jumping ahead to hand number 9 now. This time, once again, in early position. We got the $200 straddle on, 5,100, 200. I'm next to act 10-8 suited. If you're trying to play super good, super sound poker, you can let these suited gappers go from early position. But I've got an extra task on my shoulders. I'm trying to play reasonably good and also not knit it up too hard. Suited connectors and gappers, if you're going to play them, it's probably not the end of the world. I come in for $500. Doug looks down at his hand on the dealer button, wants to get involved. He makes the call. So the 2 of us going heads up to King, Queen, 9, Rainbow. Some stuff going on here for us. We've got a blocker to straights. We've got backdoor flush draws. We've got early position, so we can definitely represent these high cards. I'm going to go ahead and do that. I fire out for $300. That's a pretty good price for Doug in his mind, and he goes ahead and makes the call. Turn is the 10 of hearts, 2nd heart. It does give us a pair, but that is not too much to be proud of here with 4 to a straight on board. Just going to check it now. Doug does not wager either, checks this one back. River's pretty interesting, a 10 of spades, so we end up with an unlikely trips in this hand. Again, there's 4 to a straight on board, so if we're going to go for value, I don't think we can get too much value. I'm going to put a very small bet out here. I decide on a sizing of $400, which is about 20% of the pot. Doug, he's a tricky player. He's not going to make a crying call here. He's going to do something else. He's going to put in a raise. 2 banana chips this time, up to $2,000. Definitely an interesting spot, and I think if I bet bigger here on this river card, then perhaps I can find a fold. But in this exact instance, betting so small, perhaps inducing, and after the turn goes check, check, seems like it's possibly tough for him to have too much in this spot. We block hands such as 9-10, Queen 10, and King 10. We block the boats because we have ourselves a 10. Not impossible, of course, but just feels a little bit unlikely that he can have any real good, real strong hands here. So you guys know I'm a curious cat. I'm going to go ahead and make the call here, toss in the $2,000, and we get shown the King Jack, which is good for a straight. It's a good hand by Doug here. He himself blocks some boats. He's going to go for the value with his straight, and he gets value. He's got the right customer. I pay him off, ship it over to the tricky guy who checked back a straight on the turn. A mere 10 hands later, the straddle is still on and going to be on a lot in this game. So a casual 50, 100, 200 game. Same situation in this hand. Mike D looking down at something playable, raises it up to $500 in the +2 spot. Not 1, not 2, but 3 calls before actually gets over to me looking down at ace queen offsuit. This, my friends, it's a 3-bet candidate in my mind. Do we want to play an offsuit ace queen out of position versus 4 opponents? Is it going to play that well multi-way, massively multi-way? Probably not. I think it's a very good squeeze candidate. Perhaps it's automatic. It's not super comfortable when you're playing for tens of thousands of dollars, but it is what it is. This is what we signed up for. Let's 3-bet. I make it $3,200 to go. Back over to Mike D now, the initial raiser, who gives it some thought. He's got Brad on his direct right eating pounds and pounds of fried rice. Perhaps a little distracting, but he's going to be locked in. He's in the zone. He's going to continue here. He's going to continue with a flat call in the +2 spot, and it's over to Alex now. He likes to get in the mix. He's a battler. He's not going anywhere either. He makes the call for $3,200, as does Easy. I told you Easy likes to get in there. He is in there in this hand as well. Yidney, the only folder out of the small blind. It's a good fold because he's got Queen Jack offsuit. He's dominated. Offsuit Broadway's not good. We are in there, though, with our offsuit Broadway facing 3 opponents heading to the flop. Again, not extremely comfortable. But when the flop comes down ace, king, high, rainbow, that is definitely going to be a pretty straightforward and pretty comfortable flop. Not only is it a good flop for our range, but it's a good one for our exact hand. We've got ourselves the best 1-pair holding that is possible. All those factors are going to add up to a C bet from me. I'm firing out. $4,200 is the number. Mike D thinks about it for a little bit. Turns out he's got pocket 8s. That's not a good board for 8s. He's going to have to let it go. Over to Alex now, thinking it over, shooting me some looks as he does. Eventually, he is going to release his holding. Got himself a gut shot and backdoor flush draw, but not super deep. With the $200 straddle on, he's going to have to give it up in this spot. Over to Easy now, who is also giving me some looks, shooting me some looks, thinking things over, and he decides he's going to get super gangster in this spot, ships it in there, goes all in for just under $14,000, and it's over to us with a decision, but not really that much of a decision. We've got ourselves top pair, best kicker. This board should favor us. If he's got ace 5 or pocket 5s, so be it. We're just going to have to ship the money in there. I toss in the call, and it turns out Easy is in there with 5-3 suited, bottom pair, +2 backdoor draws. Easy always runs it once, so we are battling for a $41,300 pot. Who's going to take it home? Turn makes things slightly interesting. Deuce of diamonds gives Easy a gut shot to go along with his pair outs and trips outs. So we need to dodge a 5, 4, or 3 heading into this river.
4. Oh my goodness.
Painful, my friends. That is painful. In the early going of this game, still hand number 19, we lose a big one. Get it in there. Get the money in good. Do not get to drag this pot. Ship this one over to Easy with the semi-bluff with bottom pair plus backdoors. All right, the high-stakes game rolls on. Trying to shake it off, still reeling a bit. This is only 2 hands later. We have reloaded. We got about 30K in front of us again. In this hand, the $400 straddle is on. Very casual. 51 to 400 game now. Alex bumps it up to an even $1,000 out of the +2 spots. Easy is in there, and the hijack, he makes the call. And it's over to us on the dealer button. Look down at King, Queen, offsuit. Again, offsuit Broadway is not the best types of hands, but we've got ourselves some removal to some strong hands, and I don't think we want to take this one multi-way. Gonna bump it up here. Gonna put in the 3-bet. I make it $3,800 to go. Back over to the initial raiser, Alex. Turns out he's got himself King 10 offsuit. He's dominated. He's got a worse hand than us. He's definitely folding. And over to Easy now. He's got Ace 10 offsuit. He happens to have a better hand than us, but he doesn't want to take this one to battle. Ace 10 offsuit into the muck. We get this one through. The King Queen offsuit definitely feels good. 6 hands later, hand number 27, and we are now in the midst of the knit game. If you don't know how this works, everyone gets a button in front of them. We got these fancy new knit buttons at the lodge. You got to try and win a hand. You don't want to be the last person to not win a hand. Otherwise, you owe a significant bounty to every other player. In this case, I believe it's $300 per player that you pay if you're the last person to win a hand. So in this hand, action folds all the way around to me in the big blind. Johnny Vibes is in the straddle, the $200 straddle. We're trying to win a hand here. We can't just give JV a walk. I look down at Queen 9 offsuit. It's going to be good enough. Coming for the race here, I make it $700 from out of position. Mr. Vibes thinks it over. He's probably calling with quite a wide range here in the straddle, in position, playing the knit game. Heads up to a flop of King, Queen 8, gives us second pair here. It's probably a slightly better flop for me than it is for him. Could c-bet for that reason, but with middle pair, we could also check. I think that makes sense, and that's what I decided to do. Over to Johnny, who does not check. He puts out a bet, $600. Of course, we are going absolutely nowhere with second pair. I make the call. Turns the deuce of spades, brings in a potential backdoor flush draw. Check it over to JV once again, and this time he bets much bigger, $3,000, which is a slight overbet of the pot. I'm not so sure we can go anywhere. I mean, it is an overbet, so perhaps we are allowed to fold anything less than top pair, perhaps, maybe. But a pair is a pair, and it's tough to make a pair in this game. JV is definitely capable of firing when he picks up draws, such as flush draws, capable of double barreling hands like Jack 10, even capable of firing a hand like Ace 10 that blocks good hands such as Ace King. So I think unblocking all those draws, I'm feeling like we need to put more money into this pot and not give up just yet. I make the call. We're off to the river card, which is the 7 of clubs, meaning that every single draw in the world bricks out. Check it over to Johnny one more time, and he is not done firing. This time, $5,500. This is definitely a pretty gross spot because, as mentioned, unblocking all the draws. We don't have any spades in our hand. Unblock Jack 10. We got a 9 in our hand, so maybe that has removal to like Jack 9 or something, but I don't think he's going to just go to war with a hand like that. That seems kind of insignificant. So pretty tough spot here. We just got second pair. Problem is we're playing this knit game. So as mentioned, you have to try and win a hand. You're very much incentivized to try and force one through. What's going on in my mind is those two things. A, it's the knit game, and B, all those draws have missed out on the 7 of clubs. So when we call the turn with the deuce of spades and then find this river card, it just feels like we have to reach the end of this story versus a very capable opponent who can put people to the test and fire all 3 barrels. I eventually decide, let's see it, JV, what you got. Tossed in the $5,500, and he rolls over top pair. A very well played top pair. Gets pretty damn close to max value here. Overbetting the turn and firing a third value bet on the river. Gets all 3 streets versus second pair. And if there's any hand in this entire live stream that I'm not super proud of, it's this one. We just get wrecked here. Toss in all that money with second pair. This instance of the knit game is a very costly one for the home team. No hands off in these high stakes adventures. This is hand number 28 of the stream. Knit game very much still in play here. Mike D coming in for the $600 raise in early position. Doug puts in the 3-bet on Mike's direct left up to $3,000. Action over to us in the small blind, looking down at a premium. Ace, King suited in the knit game. This is a super premium. Never doing anything other than 4-betting. That's what we do. We stack up $8,400, slide that amount out into the middle. And it turns out this will be an easy hand, much easier than the last one. Mike D's got Ace 10 offsuit. He's going to get out of there. Doug, he's got the worst of the 3 hands, Ace 5 offsuit. That one, of course, is getting sent into the muck as well. Sometimes poker is easy. We get to release our knit button and we drag in $4,500 worth of profit or so. Hand number 31 now. Some players still have their nit buttons in front of them. We do not, but we do have an offsuit Broadway hand in the hijack. I'm going to raise it up to $500 over the $200 straddle. Mike D likes the price. He makes the call out of the small blind. Doug's got the nit button. He needs to get involved. He calls in the big blind. Alex doesn't like to miss the flop, getting a good price. He calls as well. So casual 4-way flop this time. King 9 deuce with 2 diamonds. That's good for top pair for us. Action is going to check around to us, the initial raiser. Got ourselves top pair here. 4-way pot. We don't need to bet too big. I bet a little over 1/3 the size of the pot. Top pair, decent kicker. Drops 1 player, drops 2 players, drops all 3 players. We'll take what we can get here. That's an additional $1,600 profit, chipping away at the deficit. Hands coming fast and furious in this game. Hand number 34 of the stream. JV, Johnny Vibes, comes in for the raise to $600 over the $200 straddle in early position. Alex is calling on the button. Yidney on my direct right, tossing in the $500 additional out of the big blind. And it's over to us in the straddle. Once again, looking down at one of these kind of hands that we don't really want to take multi-way out of position. Once again, blocking some strong hands such as ace king, pocket kings, pocket queens, ace queen. When you got multiple factors like that, once again, it feels like a squeeze opportunity in my mind. So let's do it. Let's try it. I'm also in no mood to play small. Let's play bigger, boys. Let's put some more money in there. Go ahead and 3-bet it. Of course, I'm not really looking for action, but go ahead and 3-bet it up to $3,600. Get through Johnny Vibes, which is the main concern. Alex gets out of the way off the button. Yidney is out of there, out of the big blinds. And we drag in another $2,000 in profit just for dropping some chips into the middle. Love to see it. Still stuck, but anytime we drag one of these in, feels a little bit better. Nick game still a factor here. Easy does not have a button. He comes in off of the regular dealer button, makes it $250 to go. No straddle on in this hand. Yidney still has his nit button. He's trying to get involved. He makes the call from out of position. We've got 9-5 off. Terrible hand, but we're getting a great price here. So let's toss in some chips. Let's see it flop 3 ways. Queen 9-7 with 2 hearts gives us a pair. It's hard to make a pair in this game, so can't hate it. Check to Easy, who puts out a C-bet of 400 United States dollars. Yidney not ready to release just yet. He makes the call. Got ourselves a middle pair. As mentioned, I'm calling. Turn pairs the queen. Definitely makes things interesting for me. Makes me feel a little bit better about my second pair. We check over to Easy, who continues firing, this time for 2 purple chips, which equals $1,000. Yidney is out of there this time. Got himself absolutely nothing, basically, and we've got ourselves second pair. Our hand is a little bit forced here. It'll be interesting to see if we have to face a 3rd barrel. Not going to love it with second pair, no kicker here. Check the deuce of diamonds, over to Easy one last time, and this time, thankfully, he checks it back. We roll it over. Turns out second pair is good in this instance. Easy had himself a bunch of equity, flush draw, plus overcard. Doesn't come in. A few pots in a row. This one in particular profits us $2,300. Chipping away, trying to get back to even, battling, get in the mix. Last few hands work out in our favor. Bunch of straddles on as per usual, as is the norm down here in Crazy Land, aka Texas. Plus, I don't even know what these guys are doing. Mike D's got some extra money out there. I don't know what these guys are up to. All I know is I got 10-8 suited on the button. Very playable, super raisable. I'm bumping it up to $2,200 here because, as mentioned, there's a bunch of money in the middle from the straddles and blind betting. I don't know what's going on. Mike D takes a look at not 1, but 2 of his cards after some deliberation. He tosses in the call out of the straddle. Doug is also in a straddle. He makes the call. And Alex is in yet another straddle. He calls as well. Casual, typical 4 ways to a flop that comes down 4-4 deuce with 2 hearts and 1 club. They check it over to me, kind of on the fence here. I think with 1 club on there, C-betting, of course, makes sense. It's a bunch of lunatics in this pot. Mike D, Doug, and Alex, they could all be committed to an insane asylum at any one moment. So I'm just going to go ahead, check this one back, take a free card, see what happens. Turns to ace of clubs, second club, pick up that backdoor flush draw. Mike D decides to check it again. Doug decides to check as well. And Alex comes out firing on this card, which is pretty interesting because we're most likely to be holding an ace. A lot of times we will put in a bet now, whether we have it or to represent it. But he's going to lead right out into me. $4,000 is his bet size. We pick up this flush draw. Don't really want to release just yet. I go ahead and toss in the 4K. Mike D is out of there with his queen 6 suited. Doug, not ready to release. He makes the call as well. So 3 of us now heading to a river card, which is the 5 of hearts. Front door flush comes in. We brick everything. Left with 10 high here. Doug checks. Alex weighs his options, shoots some glances around the table as he does before deciding to put out another bet of $10,000. Of course, we have a super easy decision, immediately release. Doug doesn't love it, shakes his head here, does what he does, and makes yet another fantastic fold. Ace jack off suit, lets it go, puts money in when he has the best of it, lets it go when he is now beat on the river. Alex made a flush, 9-7 of hearts. That's a pretty significant win in a multi-way pot for him. He does get penalized here because he didn't show his cards at the end of the hand. That's one of the rules in the nit game. Got to show when you get rid of your nit button. You do get to get rid of your nit button if you don't show, but you have to pay the penalty anyway. $300 penalty, which is a very small price when you're dragging in a 5-figure pot.
He's going to get rid of his nit.
Poker continues, hand number 50 on the live stream here. Johnny Vibes coming in with the early position raise up to $600 over $200 straddle. Doug makes the call out of the cutoff. Yidney calls in the big blind. We've got ourselves ace jack offsuit in the straddle. Once again, very similar spot to a couple spots we've seen already in this show. Removal of strong hands, offsuit Broadway is not going to play great out of position multi-way, but blocking those strong hands, I think we can put in a 3-bet squeeze here. It's a bluff, basically. But as it turns out, we're running good in these spots. We've actually got the best hand here pre-flop. Johnny Vibes out of there with a king-6 suited. Doug's got 8-6, suited 1 gapper. Doesn't want to get in the mix this time, lets it go. Yidney on my direct right. Also a suited 1 gapper, lets it go from out of position. Ace jack offsuit, drags it in. Nice little 2K pot here. Running good in these squeeze spots, especially versus Johnny Vibes' initial raiser. Hasn't really quite had the goods to fight back in these spots yet. In this hand, the game is on once again, hand number 52 here. This time, Alex comes in for the raise out of the hijack, makes it $300 to go. Easy makes the call, Yidney makes the call, and we're in the small blind, this time looking down at a premium hand with another squeeze opportunity. Pocket queens this time. I'm going to bump it up again here. I've been 3-betting kind of relentlessly, so it's good to actually have a premium hand this time. I make it $2,100 to go, and Johnny Vibes is in the big blind. Maybe he's getting a little bit sick of it. Maybe he is ready to fight back, make a stand, puts in the 4-bet up to $5,000. The initial raiser gets out of the way, as does Easy, and Yidney comes in for the call on the dealer button, tosses in the extra $4,700, and pretty interesting spot now. We're about $30,000 effective here. Pocket queens. I've been 3-betting a lot, and this time Mr. Vibes puts in the 4-bet. Do we want to take this one 3 ways with us in the small blind, where there's going to be a bunch of flops that either contain an ace or a king, and we're not going to be exactly sure how to proceed post-flop? Putting in the flat call definitely feels like the safe option. Proceed from there, see what happens on the flop, and then decide how we want to proceed. But I think we also benefit from a bunch of equity denial. And this is a good hand. This is pocket queens. 3rd best hand ever created. I'm not going to mess about here. I am going to stick the rest of this money in here. Let's go all in. If we happen to be up against aces or kings, then so be it. If a low flop comes, we're not going to get away anyway. And of course, that's Johnny Vibes over there. He's definitely capable of finding some 4-bet bluffs himself. Not looking to keep ranges wide, just going to stick the money in there. There's over $10,000 in the middle up for grabs, so I go ahead, pile it in there. Johnny Vibes releases right away. If he had snap called, it wouldn't have been great, but that's not what happens. He lets it go. He's got pocket 9s, gets out of the way. Yidney, I think he's sick of it. He's playing the nit game. He's still got the nit button in front of him, and he's seen me put in that 3-bet squeeze a bunch. He's over it. He's sticking the money in. He's making a stand, and it turns out he's got ace jack off suit. So he's got himself 1 overcard. We're running it once here. We're going to have to dodge that ace or a bunch of jacks or a bunch of hearts or clubs in order to drag this $52,000 pot. Safe run out there. No real sweat to be found on any street. That is going to be a $29,100 profit in one single hand. That's one of the biggest pots that I have ever played so far in my poker career. No real sweat to be found on any particular street. That being said, it's always a sweat when there's $52,000 in the middle. Feels good though. We were stuck. Not so much anymore. Sitting on a casual $65,000 stack here in hand number 53. $400 straddle is on, and it folds over to me on the button. Looking down at king 10 offsuit. Going to bump it up here at $1,000 to go. Action folds over to that stylish looking dude. Doug Polk defends the $400 straddle. We go heads up to a flop. Comes down ace high, rainbow. Doug checks it over me. Got ourselves range advantage here. Going to put out a C bet. Doug can't fight back in this instance. He's got himself 8-7 offsuit. Just a measly backdoor straight draw. He lets it go. Drag this one in. Familiar face, Mr. Skull Mike, commentator, game organizer here at the lodge. He has taken Yidney's seat. He's in there. He's facing a $300 raise from easy on the dealer button. Mike's in the small blind. He decides to make the call, and we got King 10 offsuit in the big blind. We're going to defend this one. I make the call as well. So 3 of us off to a flop that comes Jack 4-4 rainbow. Mike checks. I check. Easy on the button. He decides to check as well. 5 of hearts on the turn. Mike checks it over to me again. We've got ourselves king high, so no showdown value here. Could easily represent anything on this board. I'm going to take a stab at it. Don't need to bet too big here. 3 ways. Can make cheap bluffs and also keep ranges wide when I do have a good hand. I take a stab for 400 lodge bucks. Easy. He folds pretty quickly. Skull Mike. Turns out he has got the same hand as us, and he can't continue on this board. He releases. That's a victory for us. Send it on over. Everyone's favorite game, the knit game. It's back in effect here. Action folds around to Alex on the dealer button. He raises it up to $600. Folds around to me in the straddle spot. We've got a pretty ugly looking 5-3 offsuit. Getting an okay price here. Playing the knit game. Got to try and win a hand. I'm going to defend loosely. I make the call. A7-6 rainbow gives us a gut shot. Nothing to be super proud of here, but it is some equity. Check it over to Alex. He's going to see bet wide here. We both have knit buttons in front of us. He fires for $600. I call. Turns a 9 of clubs. Doesn't help me. Check it over to Alex. This time he thinks about it before checking back. Rivers a deuce of clubs. We brick out pretty heavily here. We have removal to basically nothing. We've got 5 high though. So do we just want to check this one over and try and show it down? Absolutely not. I'm going to fire out here. $1,400 is my sizing that I choose. Just kind of praying and hoping, just stabbing, just playing the knit game here. 5-3 offsuit. Again, we've got removal to basically nothing aside from 5-8. But when Alex checks back on the turn, feels like he might be a little bit capped here. Just going to take a stab, hope for the best. If it costs me an extra $1,400, so be it. But it does not. Alex releases. He's got himself 7-5. Can't blame him for folding that holding. There's a bunch of straight draws that got there, plus a couple of overcards at his pair. So he lets that one go, and we get this one through with 5-3 offsuit. 5 high, profit, return the knit button. Life is good. Still in the midst of this game, $400 straddle is back on. I'm on the dealer button, look down at a pocket pair. Easy raise up to $1,000. Johnny Vibes gets out of the way in the small blind. Mr. Brado, and the most popular poker blogger in all the land. He puts in the 3-bet this time up to $4,500. Mike D and Doug, they are out of there, fold their straddles. Small pocket pair here. I think we're going to have to continue. Brad's got the knit button in front of him. Could be doing this with a bunch of holdings. We're going to try and flop a set here. I make the call. Heads up to flop against young Bradley Owen. Queen 7-6, 2 clubs. Unfortunately, that's 3 overcards to the 5s, as will happen a lot of the time. Brad decides to check it. No C-bet. I'm just going to check this one back. Let's take a turn card. King of clubs, 3rd club. Obviously not my favorite card. Brad does decide to check it again. I don't know if it's going to make too much sense for us to stab here. Just decide to check this one back and go to the river. That river pairs the queen. Brad checks it to me one more time. We could beat some hands like ace-jack, ace-10, deuces. That's about it. Not really beating much, but I don't think we can represent too much either. So I just check it back. Brad's got the winner. Pocket 10s. Send it to Brad. All right, lock in and get focused because this one is a wacky one. $200 straddle on, and we look down at pocket aces in the hijack. What a dream. Raise it up to $500 out of the hijack, and right away, Johnny Vibes in the cutoff puts in the 3-bet, makes it $1,600 to go. Always love to see it. Brad and Mike D out of the way before Doug finds something that he wants to put a 4-bet into play with. 4-bet up to $4,800. What a sight when you're holding pocket aces. Not only a 3-bet, but a 4-bet before it gets back to you. Things about to get insane. Alex, looking down at his cards and pauses, does not release, thinking things over before he grabs some pink chips and yellow chips and drops $11,000 into the middle. A 5-bet pot before action gets back over to me holding pocket aces. And it's at this moment where I am super thankful that I have diligently studied my cold 5-bet pots when holding pocket aces. Boy, do I know these 5-bet pots from front to back. Not really. No idea what to do. No idea what's best here. Anything other than folding seems to make sense. All I know is these 2 things. One, both of these guys are super capable. Doug obviously being one of the best poker players in the world. Alex, he's a psycho. He can do anything. He can have anything at any one time. So there's 3 options. A, we could put in the 6-bet. Doesn't seem like that could be too bad. B, we could flat call. Problem with that is that we invite multiple players into the pot when we're going to be out of position here. Problem is we invite multiple players in, giving them a decent price to get in there versus us. Post flop, not that stacks are going to be super deep once there is a 5-bet in play, but I don't think it can be completely disregarded at the same time. Other option would be to stuff it all in there. $60,000 to go, boys. We could, of course, balance that with an ace-king suited type hand, perhaps the occasional ace-5 suited. But ask yourself this. When you're playing 51 to 400, how many times are you going to 6-bet jam all in over a cold 5-bet with ace-king? Feels like in the moment, no matter what I do, everything is going to look extremely strong. No idea what's best here. All I know is that stuffing 60K into the middle is going to look extremely strong, just as every other single option that is in front of me on the table would look as well. Definitely take my time here weighing the options. Do I want a flat call? Do I want to jam? Do I want a 6-bet small? I eventually decide on the small 6-bet. I put in the 6-bet up to $23,000. Johnny Vibes is out of there. He was the only one screwing around in this hand. 10-7 of hearts. That goes into the muck immediately. Doug's got himself a bottle of bourbon behind him, takes a sip before releasing, as he does, being one of the best poker players in the world, finds pocket kings and makes the correct laydown. Over to Alex now with pocket queens. This is a proper cooler, aces versus kings versus queens. Alex has himself perhaps a little bit easier of a decision. Pocket queens, he could be up against 2 better hands than his, or maybe a flipping situation versus ace king, but he's going to get out of the way, and we've got ourselves a victory with pocket aces. Could we have one more? I'm sure there was a way to win more money in this hand. We profit $17,550 without a flop in this hand. Can't be too angry about it, but of course, when you don't get the maximum with pocket aces versus pocket kings, you're definitely questioning what might have been. Of course, this hand generated infinite discussion on Twitter. Not only there, but Doug also did a little bit of a deep dive on his channel, gave his thoughts. But then what is interesting is that a friend of his did an even deeper dive, ran it through a sim, and he was able to come to the conclusion where apparently the most plus EV way to play pocket aces facing the cold 5-bet is to put in the small 6-bet rather than jam all in or flat call. Poker continues. Hand number 89. We've got ourselves a casual $80,000 stack in front of us. Looking down at ace 3 suited in early position. Going to go ahead and bump this one up to 250. No straddle on in this hand. Action folds over to Knit Doug, folding pocket kings pre-flop. This time he makes the call on the dealer button. Easy getting a good price. Calls out of the big blind. So 3 ways to a flop. King 9 deuce, 1 diamond, deuce of diamonds. Backdoor possibilities. I'm going to bet. Don't need to bet too big here. 3 ways. I bet $250. Old Knit Doug decides this time he's going to put a little bit of money in there. Makes the call for $250. Easy out of the way. 3 clubs on the turn. Gives us a pair. Perhaps a little bit of something to semi-bluff with. Still going to have all the best hands here on this board, so I continue with a wager of $1,100 this time. Doug still not ready to release yet. He tosses in the $1,100, and we are off to a river card that comes to 3 of spades. What a life. Somehow end up with trips on this board. 3 of a kind, ace kicker. Of course, we are wagering once again. Small 4-figure amount. As it turns out, Doug has absolutely nothing on this board. Was just floating with the gut shot. 2 overs to second pair. Doesn't materialize into anything whatsoever. Is just left with jack high, and of course, lets it go here on the river. Thought I was semi-bluffing. Turns out I had the best hand all along in this hand. All right, hand number 90 of the stream, and there is no shortage of huge hands. I got the straddle on in this hand, and Doug raises it up, makes it $500 to go over my $200 straddle out of the cutoff. Over to us, looking down at pocket kings this time. Definitely going to be 3-betting here. Only a question of what sizing. Decided to go a little bit more than 4x Doug's initial raise. I bump it up to $2,200. Back over to Doug now. He grabs a pink chip, he grabs a yellow chip, he grabs a purple chip. This time he makes it $6,600 to go. It's not a 3-bet, it's actually a 4-bet. We're super deep in this instance. As mentioned, we started the hand with $80,000. Perhaps a bit spooked out just having seen aces versus kings a bit prior to this, but also not looking to just pile it in here in an $80,000 deep poker game. I'm not really going to have much of a 5-bet range, so I just decide to flat call the 4-bet, and we go heads up to a flop against Doug Polk. Flop comes down ace 7 deuce with 3 spades. Good news, bad news. Obviously, we did not want to see an ace, the only card that we were trying to dodge. Good news is that there's 3 spades, and we have the king of spades in hand. Check it over to Doug, who put out the 4-bet pre-flop, and he continues on this flop as I expect expect him to do on virtually every single board as a 4-better, this time wagering $3,200. We're going absolutely nowhere with our king of spades, of course. We could check raise, but I'm not sure how many better hands than this one that gets to fold, so I decide to make the call. Off to a turn card, which is the deuce of diamonds. Not a great card because if he happens to have pocket aces, we would now be drawing dead. I check it, and Doug checks back pretty quickly here. River's at 3 of diamonds. Usually going to lean towards check here. One consideration would be to put out a small bet to try and get value from smaller pocket pairs. We'd have to go really small, though, because with that ace on board, it's going to be very tough to derive any value from such holdings. Not really sure how much value there is to be gotten. I just decide to check it once again. Doug quickly checks back, which means we're almost always going to have the best hand unless he happens to have ace 5 or ace 4 suited. We roll it over right away, and we've got Doug pipped once again. This time he's got pocket queens. So we get in with the aces versus kings. We get in with the kings versus queens. Running good down at the lodge in Austin. Do we win the absolute maximum in either hand? No, we don't. Are we happy about the run good? Yes, we are. Are you guys watching poker vlogs in order to figure out how to play perfectly? I hope not. Hope you're enjoying the show anyway. All right, hand number 106, getting deep into the stream now. I got the $200 straddle on once again. In this hand, action folds over to easy in the small blind, who comes in for the raise up to $700. Got a suited king, definitely defending, tossing the call, heads up to a flop. Queen 9-9 rainbow. Easy puts out a wager, $400. Got 2 backdoor draws. We've got ourselves 1 over. Don't think we can fold for that price. Turn comes another queen, and this time easy checks it over to me. We are beating some small pairs like pocket 5s and such. We are losing to ace highs. Maybe we can make a stab here and try and fold out some of those ace highs. I'll go ahead and put out a wager for $800. Easy thinks about it for not all that long, throws in the $800, and we are off to a river card. Deuce of diamonds checks it over to me again. This time, I'm just going to wave the white flag here. Don't think I'm going to be winning too often with my king high, but also don't think I can get too many bluffs through. I think an ace high is going to find a call a lot of the time unless we put out a huge bet. Either that or check seems reasonable. I decide, check it down. He's got himself a full house, does easy. Nice hand, sir. Send it to easy. Moving right along, poker continues, and in this hand, no straddle on. Doug puts in the raise up to $250 in early position. Easy makes the call out of the cutoff before action over to Skull Mike on the dealer button, who decides to put in the 3-bet up to $1,000, 1 banana chip. Over to me now in the small blind, looking down at ace 10 suited. 40% of a royal flush. Do we want a cold call here out of the small blind, playing out of position? Initial raise are still behind me, yet to act. Not sure how great of a line that one is. Is Skull Mike going to be getting super out of line in this game? Don't really think so, but that's not to say that he can't find a couple different gears, find the occasional squeeze spot himself. So I'm going to go for it here. I'm going to try it. Going to put in another raise. I got a blocker to some good hands. Going to go ahead and put in that 4-bet. It's very much a 4-bet bluff. If we do get called by Skull Mike, we can try and find some favorable boards and runouts. I make it $2,800 to go. Doug gets out of the way, folds the pocket 9s. That was the best hand in this instance. Easy out of there quickly. Skull Mike thinks about it. Turns out it was a squeeze spot for him. Queen 10, that's into the muck. We got that one dominated. Get the re-raise through this time. Time for a champagne toast. I'm happy to participate. I'm winning in this game. I got pocket aces versus pocket kings. Didn't get the maximum. Whatever. Life is good anyway. There's Cristal available at the lodge for purchase. It's on the secret menu, but maybe it's not so secret anymore. Cheers to these guys. Cheers to the lodge. Cheers to aces versus kings. Cheers to making mistakes in poker and being okay with it, even though it wasn't a mistake, even though Doug said it was a mistake in his video. Life goes on. Life is good. Got myself 5-4 suited here in early position. Raise. Brad's double fisting bourbon and champagne, and he's got about 2 pounds of rice that he's consumed. He's going to put in the 3-bet out of the hijack spot up to $1,600. Over to Skull Mike, who thinks about it for a little bit before releasing his hands. 5-4 suited, definitely playable, definitely can continue, usually not dominated. I make the call. Heads up to a flop of ace 5-3 with 2 clubs and 1 heart, which is definitely not terrible, all things considered. Flop ourselves a pair, straight draw, plus backdoor flush draw. Check it over to the 3-better Mr. Bradley, who surprisingly checks this one back. Turn is the 9 of clubs, which is kind of interesting because I don't expect Brad to basically ever have a flush here. I think he would continue with his flush draw holdings on the flop. Not so sure how often our pair of 5s is going to be good in this spot. If we do happen to fold out a hand like Jack 10, that's totally fine, even though we're ahead of that hand, folding out those overcards. That would seem like a victory. I start betting here on the turn, put out 1 banana chip. That's $1,000. Mr. Owens going nowhere. Tosses in the chip, and we are off to a river card. 10 of diamonds, essentially a brick here. Once again, I don't think Brad's going to have a flush all that often after checking back on the flop. I think he's going to have some good pairs that are lower than the ace a lot of the time. Jacks, queens, and kings. I think he'll c-bet those on the flop sometimes, maybe not all the time. Just doesn't feel like he's super strong on this board on this kind of a run out. We've got ourselves fourth pair. Seems unlikely this is going to win at showdown, so I'm going to try again. I'm going to fire here on the river. Started telling the story on the turn. Trying again on the river here to try and get this one through. $3,800 is the wager. Brad doesn't look too happy about it. Feels like he's kind of resigned to it a little bit. Doesn't expect to win is my read, but also looks like he doesn't want to let it go anyway. Shakes his head, tosses one chip in there. I announce my pair of fives, and that is no good. Versus top pair, pretty damn good kicker. Some friend this guy is. $6,700 profit over to him. Nice hand, sir. We got into this very small, this very casual 5,100 plus straddles galore game for $55,000. Things weren't looking too bright in the early going, but managed to turn around there in the middle and late stages. Of course, aces versus the rest of the premium hands is definitely helpful. Cash out of this game for $77,425. So we book a win in this game, a little over $22,000. Stressful, but we end up on the right side of things at the end of this session. So definitely happy about it. Each time I play these massive games, you get a little bit more confidence to get back in there. Every time you expand the horizons, it gets a little bit more comfortable each time you hop back in. So I'm definitely looking forward to getting back in there, but each time I know it's going to be that kind of high stress, pressure cooker kind of a situation. But I sort of have always had the mindset of trying to push myself. I know there's other poker players and other poker vloggers that do it much quicker, that have done it much quicker than I have. I think everyone has to go at their own pace. You know, you're on your own path in life, and this is the path I'm on. This is where we're at. So there will be more sessions to partake in from the lodge. The next couple of videos will be more of these high stakes sessions. So look forward to that. I'm leaving here. I'm at Florida. I'm at the Hard Rock Seminole in Hollywood, Florida. Still here following that WPT event. But heading out of here tomorrow, back to Vegas for a few days, then back to the lodge for the Lodge Championship Series main event. So that's a $3,000 buy-in tournament, $2 million guaranteed. You'll find me in there, battling, searching for a six-figure tournament score. Somebody's gonna get it, why not us? So that is next. After that, WPT Gardens in Los Angeles, California. That's what the upcoming travel schedule looks like. The poker train rolls on. Before we know it, it'll be time for summertime tournaments. So the calendar is always jam-packed. But like I said, expect more high-stakes poker coming up on this channel in the meantime, as well as some streaming. I've been playing tons and tons of hands online. If you guys are able to hop into these games on WPT Global, if you're outside of the United States, you can use bonus code Andrew. That is all. That is the messaging. Next time, more high stakes poker hands. Thanks for watching, guys. See you guys very soon.